Hello, I'm back with the next bit. So in my last video, I talked about the profile of an intercessor, and it was the second five um, qualities of an intercessor. So I started by talking about um, spiritual resilience. Then I talked about faith and persistence. Then I talked about discretion and trustworthiness. And I talked about a life of surrender. And lastly, I said an intercessor should be committed to personal growth. So today, I want to talk about some of the spiritual risks that you will face because you are standing in the gap for people or for communities or even for that individual. And this is not in any particular order. So the first one I have here is spiritual fatigue. You will be exhausted. Your body will be tired. I've had times that I've come before the Lord and I could not even open my mouth. But how I knew it was an attack is if someone calls me at that time, if someone had called me at that time, I'll be able to gist. I've had situations where where I knew and I start praying and I doze off and then my alarm goes off at a certain time, like when I'm supposed to be rounding off my prayer, and I jump up and my eyes are like sharp like this, and sleep disappears and I'm like But see, even if it's not spiritual attack, to be fair, your body will be tired because intercession involves you doing something physically. Talking can be tiring for some people. Me as a person, I find talking quite exhausting. So if I'm having to pray, I'm using my voice, I might be walking around, so your body will be tired. And if you're spending long hours in prayer, you will be exhausted. So it's important that you find time to rest, like I said in my last video, as an intercessor. Another risk is that as an intercessor, sometimes we don't know where to draw the line. We don't set boundaries. Everybody's problem becomes our problem. I've heard of people who have wanted to pray, maybe in crusades or church meetings, and they've wanted to pray for certain people and even have stretched out their hands to lay hands, and they've heard God say, do not put your hand on that person. Sometimes as intercessors, we become overzealous. We think that we are holier than God, and the Lord is saying, this burden is not yours to fight. Stay here where I've kept you. And we say, no, I love this person too much. I want to help this person, as if it's our strength that we're using to help the person. The person who is giving us the strength has said, step back. But we say, no, we want to help. We want to fight. We want to do warfare. And then you go and entangle yourself in some, you know, warfare that is not yours to carry. And it now becomes something that you start battling, in addition to all the many things that you have going on with you. So intercessors can become entangled in, can start to carry burdens that is not theirs. Jesus said, take on my yoke, not every yoke, not every burden, that you see. And the fact that you see it doesn't necessarily mean it's yours to deal with. God has his children everywhere, and he has assignments for his different children. So it might not be yours. So you need to be sensitive to what God is asking you and to the specific burdens he's asking you to carry. The third one is spiritual attack. Like I said in my last video, you're standing in the gap, so the enemy will attack you. People that have been held in spiritual bondage, you're setting them free. You're finally bringing God, because if you pray, God doesn't ignore prayers. I was saying in a prayer meeting I had with the ladies, one of the most profound statements that someone made was when she said, when you pray, pray as if God is actually listening. And before that, prayer was just like routine, just so that when they say, have you prayed, you will say yes. But when she said that, I realized how powerful that statement was and how true. Because if we're praying as if God is not listening, we're not going to get anything out of it. So when you bring somebody before God, God is listening, and then things start to happen around that person, and the enemy knows where it is coming from. So he will attack you. He will try to distract you. He will bring discouragement. He will bring unusual battles. He might make you to fight with people that God has put in your life to help you. Different things like that. There's a story I heard of this man who used to be like a former witch, and how he broke up a church. God had given these people an assignment, and they had only a few days or so to complete it. And because of the confusion and the chaos they were causing, Satan was very unhappy about it. And so he sent people that looked like bro and sis, and they infiltrated this group. The first mistake they made was they had a process for who could join. And one of the things they said was no one, they were not going to allow anyone join the group at that point, that no one could join the prayer group at that point. But one of them, the lead pastor, had a love of money in his heart, which he was not aware of. And so one of the people that Satan sent through this witch who was confessing was somebody who came in a nice car. And so this person's lust for money, which was sitting there somewhere and he had no idea, it rose to the top. And he got, blindsided by that, allowed her to join the church. Another one had bitterness in her heart towards her mother that had died. And again, it was buried. She didn't know it was there, And so one of the other ladies came, I think pretending to give a word of knowledge or something, and said something about her mother, and all the anger rose to the surface. And that was how a few days to completing this assignment that God gave them, that would have, brought revival, that would have lasted decades, the enemy was able to break up this church. I think there was even another one that had issues with his child. The child started falling sick out of nowhere. So when you are an intercessor, the enemy will come for you. He will not sit down and let you be causing problems, trying to set people free that he has bound. He will not. So you will face discouragement, you will face delays, you will have issues maybe with your children, with your marriage. And if you're not sensitive with money, you might have problems with money. And if you're not sensitive, if you don't know what is going on, you will begin to feel discouraged and start pulling back. Another risk is pride and spiritual superiority. You start to feel like, oh, I'm something, I'm somebody. We are the ones that God used. You become self-righteous, forgetting that it's an honor for God to use you as a vessel, and that there are so many people that he can use, but he chose you. And you forget that it's God who is, whatever testimonies people get, whatever testimonies you get, is God who has enabled it. But you can become proud and begin to think that it's by your power, it's by the length of time you pray. And so sometimes when God is even saying, just speak to me for a few minutes, you want to overdo it because you think it is in the strength of your activity. But it's all about the Lord. So an intercessor has to be humble enough to know that it is God that leads and we follow. The next one is being emotionally entangled. Okay, this is very similar to the one I said earlier, so I probably won't spend too much time on this. Being emotionally entangled and not understanding that you are not the one doing the healing, you are not the one bringing the breakthrough, you are not, and you can get so involved with the people that you're interceding for that you become overwhelmed by your problem. So you need to be able to have a healthy detachment and be able to see these people through the lenses of your role. You're like a consultant, if you like. You're like a consultant. As a consultant, you don't get entangled. You see the problem, you have the skills, you solve the problem, and you go. Of course, there has to be a certain level of as a consultant, of course, a certain level of commitment to the person. So of course, as an intercessor, there's a level of commitment you have to the person, but it's commitment, you know, to the extent that God is asking you to be. So you don't, if you just have this understanding that you are not on assignment on your own and that someone sent you, it would help you. So you know when to go in and you know when, to refrain and when to detach, because it's all about God, so that you're not feeling frustrated, You're not feeling resentment. I've been praying for this person, they've not changed. I've been praying for this person, they've not. The time is not in your hands, it's completely in God's hands. Your own is to pray, your own is to intercede. Every other thing is completely for God to deal with. So we must understand that these are some of the risks that we face as intercessors. The last one is we can become discouraged when answers don't come. Like I said in my last video, sometimes there'll be delays, so you have to be persistent as an intercessor. So one of the risks is to become discouraged and to give up. I found myself in that situation before where I was praying about something and it didn't happen and I gave up. But if you think about it, why did I give up? I haven't got it yet. So why did I give up? Well, people give up because they feel like God is not answering. So I'm going to find another way. I'm going to find, some other way to deal with it. I'm going to go to Egypt. I'm going to talk to that person, you know, to help me. So we start trusting in the arm of flesh. And the Bible says, woe is he who trusts in the arm of flesh, because man will give you something, but what he will take from you will be way more than what he gives you, right? So I'll just pause it here. I realize that I have another thing on intercessors, how to overcome, like how to mitigate these risks that you encounter as an intercessor. So I'll do that in a separate video because this is already going to becoming too long. Okay, so again, I hope you have found this very helpful, and again, if there's somebody that you think will benefit from it, please share the video with them. Okay, and I'll see you next time. Bye.